Someone pointed out to me quite graciously that the audio had been corrupted or missing on my previous video about coffee roasting. So I thought I would make another video. And also I have the benefit of another 5 or 6 months of roasting. So I've been roasting now about 1 year, and I'm not, an expert, but it tastes really good. We grind it and brew espresso for cappuccinos every morning, and we compare it to Lavazza, which is what we drank for many years. And myself and my wife and others have said that what we're roasting is as good, if not better and fresher than Lavazza, which I think is not so much about the quality of the bean. It perhaps is more about the freshness that you roast and then 2 or 3 days later you drink. Whereas when you buy coffee beans from the store, they were roasted much longer than 3 days ago. So starting, what I normally do is I buy around 15 pounds of the cheapest beans that they have at happymugcoffee.com. The blend and the bean variant, where it comes from, and the cost varies. And so I just always buy the cheapest. I'm not a connoisseur, and when you put espresso into milk, then you also lose some of the nuances. And so we're not super picky. So I've just been experimenting. This is my 4th time that I've ordered from Happy Mug and got about 15 pounds. So, and basically it costs around $4.30 or 80 cents per pound. And then with shipping, it ends up being a little bit more than that. But drinking coffee this way costs us around $20, maybe $25 per month. And basically our rhythm is we brew 2 cappuccinos in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. So that's essentially 120 coffees a month. Plus every Sunday we brew an extra 4 to 6 for some folks at church. And so, yeah, we're doing, 130, 140 cups of coffee for $20 to $25 a month. So the economics of it wasn't really the main driving factor. It was really just a curiosity. We wanted to try and roast coffee and see what it was like and see if it was interesting. So we bought this Whirly Popper, which is what's recommended for home gamers, basically, who are trying to do this. And then the way the Whirly Popper works is there's an agitator down in here, and it connects to a gear that connects to a crank, and you have to crank it. And I did that for a little while, and then, yeah, I looked for an easier way. So I took this old microwave rotating tray motor that I had and outfitted it to there, mostly with epoxy, and then it just plugs into the wall, and it works really good, and it keeps me from having to do that. So once I finish the first batch, subsequent batches normally take about 4 minutes. I will basically fill this mug to the top, which gets me very, very close to 6 ounces of coffee by weight. They recommend 6 ounces. If you have too few beans, then the agitator doesn't push them around. And if you have too many, then you don't get a consistent roast. So 6 ounces on a scale is what you want. And I then just found a corresponding coffee mug that was right there. So I just always do this, right flush, and I put it in. And then the first batch takes a little bit longer because the whole apparatus is getting heated up. But subsequent batches, again, they take about 4 minutes. And what you do is you listen for what they call first crack, which is where the beans start to make a noise. And then you listen for second crack. And the amount of time that you allow the beans to roast after second crack has begun is sort of the reference point that's used in coffee roasting. And you'll even see that it says, try 10 to 20 seconds into second crack for a sweet shot of espresso with very little bitterness. So that's kind of a guideline. You have to kind of make your own mind up based on your stove and all of that. I run the stove at halfway, right at 5. The hotter you run it, the less wiggle room you have to turn off the heat before you burn them, which it's pretty easy to burn. And then if you turn the heat down even lower, then you gain yourself some wiggle room. This motor has an auto reverse function, so when it gets a little bit too jammed up, it'll switch back the other way. Probably, I don't know, once or twice when I'm roasting 6 or 8 sets, I'll have to jiggle this and keep it from getting jammed. But for the most part, it takes care of itself. So yeah, you can see we're not yet into first crack, but I'll go ahead and cut the video and then come back when first crack starts, so you're not just sitting here waiting for nothing. Right, so we just got ourselves into first crack. I'm going to put the microphone over here so you can hopefully hear it. So it kind of sounds like popcorn popping. Some people say like Rice Krispie treats. Yeah. One thing you may not be able to see is there's a good amount of off-gassing. And so we normally have the doors and windows open to get a breeze going because it will really put off a lot of stench. And it's not that pleasurable. It's not like the nice smell of coffee beans or anything like that. So I'm going to try and bring you in here a little closer without ruining these beans. So I make the final decision on when to stop based on the color. And it's kind of hard to see the color, even with the naked eye with the flashlight, because there's so much gas coming off of it. And the difference between like a light city roast and totally burnt and ruined is sometimes like 30 seconds. So depending on your setup, depending on how hot you have the stove, you can pretty easily ruin a batch. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do now, before I burn them, is I'm going to show you what I do. So I throw them in a colander, then I take my new batch and I throw them right in, and then I'll take you outside. Paul, would you open the back door, please? So you can see, hopefully all the gas is coming off. So what I do, sorry, filming and doing this at once, it's not super easy. I'll just move this so that you can see. And that's about it. You might do a little bit more than that, but basically all you're wanting to do is cool the beans down and separate out basically the chaff or the husk or whatever you'd call it. Now, you'll notice that some beans are a good bit lighter than others. That's one of the attributes of not having like a coffee roasting oven, and that's one of the attributes of kind of being a home gamer. But the law of averages works out where you got a couple that might be a little dark and a couple that might be a little light. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut off the video. I'm gonna air these out a little bit more. You basically just need airflow, and then you need some agitation. And this is what I found works pretty good. It happens to be something we already had, and I guess it's crude, but it works quite well. And then I'll show you what I do next. With that, you can like use your hands and kind of reach in there and agitate, but I've not really found it to be necessary. If you have some air blowing like I do from the leaf blower, then you really don't need it. You just need a little agitation. So then basically when I'm done, I'll go ahead and put them out on like this is for pizza, I guess, but I'll basically spread them out, and you can use a cookie tray or tinfoil or whatever you want to use. And you basically just let them cool down so that they're not clumped up and still basically still roasting. So you just kind of spread them out, and I normally let them sit for maybe like an hour. That's probably overkill. Sometimes I'll just let them sit until I know they're absolutely cooled down. And yeah, so that's basically one coffee mug's full. And then the next round is already going. And let's see, you can see they're already close. So they're probably only maybe 2 minutes away from being ready. So by the time you kind of go outside and do that, and then get it ready. You know, you're almost ready for the next batch. And so I'll normally completely fill one of these Lavazza bags. I just reuse them. So I basically do about 2.2 pounds like every 3 weeks. And it takes me about an hour. It'll take me I'll do maybe 8 of these. But you get into a rhythm and it works pretty good. And yeah, it's fun. So if you're curious in trying it, then I hope this has been helpful. And I'd say give it a try. It's not a huge investment and it's pretty rewarding. And then you can also give these things away for Christmas gifts, which is kind of a neat homemade gift that people get a kick out of. So, all right, folks, that's it. Last thing I forgot to mention, that is basically I wait 48 hours before I grind and drink these or brew these. So I read that somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. They say wait 48 hours. I've waited a little bit less than that and not noticed anything because I had run out and kind of had no choice. But 48 hours is recommended, and that's what we've been doing. So that's a good place to start anyway, and then you can experiment for yourself.